The pure school beauty rushed to my door in the rainstorm, just to sleep with me for one night, but I rejected her. The next day, the school beauty was found dead in my alley. After that, I was filled with guilt. I got into police school and frantically chased the real killer, but the rain washed away all the traces. For 10 whole years, I found no clues. Then a sudden bolt of lightning sent me back to this fateful crossroads. Gu Nanchang. I heard your parents are away on business, and you're home alone. Can I stay at your place for a few days? I can do chores to pay you back. I looked at the person in front of me and instinctively reached out to touch. Bai Wei instinctively wanted to dodge, but for help, she forced herself to stay still. The cold touch of my fingertips, his slight trembling clearly told me, he's alive. I really came back. So Bai Wei hurriedly stepped back. Her foot slipped and she fell backward. I quickly caught her waist and pulled her into my arms amid the rain. Silence fell between them. She stayed still in my embrace, not daring to move. I quickly let go and stepped back to the edge of the light. You looked so cold. I instinctively wanted to give you some warmth. So It's okay. I stepped aside and let her into the house. Seeing her pale face, my thoughts churned. In the past life, after the criminal committed this crime in Shanghai City, he disappeared without a trace. This time, I won't just save her. I'll use years of criminal investigation experience to go to the crime scene tonight and catch the real killer. Bai Wei stood nervously at the entrance, fidgeting with the corner of her clothes. Seeing me turn to get slippers, she became even more flustered. My socks are wet. They'll dirty the slippers. I'll just go barefoot. I'll mop the floor for you later. A stormy night, a man and a woman alone in a room. Her soaked state plunged her into extreme unease. She dug her nails deep into her palms, forcing herself to stay calm as I turned. She quickly scanned the surroundings with her peripheral vision until she saw the hot tea and messy boxes on the coffee table. Only then did she relax her tense back a little. Here's a towel for your hair. Feel free to use it if you don't mind. Can I also borrow some clothes? My clothes are a bit wet. I only then noticed her tightly gripping her soaked shirt. Since you need to change anyway, why not take a hot bath? Otherwise, you'll catch a cold. The guest room doesn't have a bathtub. Use the bathroom in my room. I'll run the hot water. Hearing she had to bathe in my bathroom, Bai Wei blushed and lowered her head. She murmured a soft reply. The sound of running water filled the bathroom. Bai Wei watched my busy back, finally gathered her courage. Gu Nanchang. Just call me by my name. You want to ask why I didn't question your reason for staying? Bai Wei looked up in surprise, her eyes full of curiosity as she nodded. A pretty girl like you, knocking on a door in the heavy rain asking for shelter, must have a compelling reason. Since it's not convenient to say, it would be rude of me to pry. Hearing this, Bai Wei's eyes reddened. I adjusted the water temperature, stood up and walked slowly to her, suddenly raised my hand and leaned it against the wall by her ear, trapping her in my arms. I'm not worried you have any ulterior motives. But aren't you afraid that staying here, I might try something on you? Bai Wei leaned against the wall, biting her lip, feeling a wave of warmth wash over her. I trust you. Her beautiful eyes met mine boldly. That answer directly blocked any further probing from me. Thinking about the important things I had to do tonight, I smiled and withdrew my hand. Go take your bath. Here's a change of clothes. With your figure, this shirt can totally be worn as a dress. Use it for now. Put your clothes in the washer. After washing, put them in the dryer. They'll be dry soon. Thank you. Bai Wei turned and entered the bathroom. That thank you was half for the shelter, and half for my understanding and tolerance. Listening to the water running in the bathroom, I smiled, turned, and left the bedroom to make ginger tea. After a while, the bathroom door opened. Bai Wei came out wearing an oversized sweatshirt, her cheeks flushed with a faint blush from the steam, revealing the fair skin above her knees. I've already put your slippers out. Bai Wei put on the warm, fuzzy slippers. Her shyness faded quite a bit. As she walked out of the bedroom, she smelled the sweet, warm scent of honey ginger soup. I approached with a mug. My eyes glanced over her loose sweatshirt collar. My Adam's apple moved slightly. Here, drink some ginger sugar water. Bai Wei took the mug and sipped it slowly. Want me to cook you some noodles? Wouldn't that be too much trouble? What trouble? It'll only take a few minutes. Have a seat first. I'll add 2 eggs for you. I was just about to get up when a small hand grabbed me. I can fry eggs too. Let me help. In the kitchen, my skillful knife work surprised Bai Wei. Tomatoes and ham were quickly chopped neatly on the cutting board. Bai Wei stepped onto a small stool and tiptoed to reach the egg carton on the top shelf. As she moved, the hem of the oversized sweatshirt lifted instantly. I glanced sideways and my face instantly turned red. Bai Wei seemed to notice my gaze and hurriedly pulled down the sweatshirt hem, but she lost her balance on the stool. I quickly reached out from behind to steady her, but my palm accidentally slipped to a place it shouldn't have. Her body went limp and she fell directly into my arms. The sandalwood from her hair and the citrus of the shower gel mingled. We both froze in place until the boiling soup splashed out of the pot, breaking the awkward silence. I quickly withdrew my hand and stepped back half a step, shoving the ladle into her hand. You stir, I'll get the eggs. As I turned, I caught a glimpse of my reddened ears in the mirror. So all these years, it wasn't that I had no feelings for girls. It's that no one else could make my heart race like this. Bai Wei blushed and stirred the noodles with her head down. The sizzling sound of oil perfectly masked the pounding of our hearts. The aroma of tomato soup noodles soon filled the kitchen. I brought the noodles to the table, deliberately avoiding her trembling fingertips. Careful, it's hot. Pick whatever channel you want to watch. The moment the TV lit up, Bai Wei suddenly gripped her chopsticks tightly. The screen was playing some study materials I forgot to switch off. The content was extremely explicit. I coughed awkwardly. immediately, and quickly switched to the TV menu, then casually clicked on Crayon Shinchan. I almost forgot. Back then, I rejected this movie because I was afraid of being caught watching this. Luckily, after all these years of experience, my skin is much thicker now. Without a blush or a racing heart, I acted like nothing happened and quickly switched it off. Bai Wei also quickly changed the subject. I didn't know you were such a good cook. I gently wiped the tiny beads of sweat from the tip of her nose with a tissue. You're sweating. That means the chill is out. Eat slowly. There's more in the pot. He focused on eating the noodles. He finished the noodles and soup completely, looking very satisfied. Well, after just one bowl, as soon as he finished speaking, a sudden clap of thunder exploded outside the window. I instinctively looked at the clock. 9:57. Only about half an hour left until the time of crying my past life. This time, I must see the killer's true face. Time is tight. I'm going to head to the crime scene area to investigate immediately. I brought a glass of water and a blanket, covering her with it. Since you're full, watch TV in the living room for now. I'll wash the dishes when I get back. I'm going out to buy some snacks. I'll be right back. Going out in such heavy rain? It's Oku, it's very close. As I reached the door, I suddenly stopped and turned around. I'm worried the criminal planned this. He might have even followed her and is lurking nearby. Remember, until I get back, don't open the door for anyone, no matter who rings. I have my keys. I won't ring the bell. Hearing my instructions, Bai Wei nodded obediently like it and wrapped herself tightly in the blanket. As the door closed, looking at the empty room, she curled up on the sofa, waiting quietly for me to return. I opened my black umbrella and stepped into the rain. Glanced at my waterproof watch. The time was 21:58. In the past life, the quarter estimated Bai Wei's time of death was around 10:30. My target tonight was the place on her usual route, the 24-hour convenience store. In the past life, Bai Wei borrowed an umbrella from the store, ate something, then headed to the alley where the crime happened. Even though she stayed at my place tonight, I had to confirm if the timeline would correct itself and let someone else die in that spot instead of Bai Wei. I can't let that happen. On the way, I took out my phone and checked the home surveillance. Bai Wei was curled up on the sofa watching TV, confirming she was obediently at home and hadn't run off. I quickened my pace. Just as I got near the convenience store, I heard a muffled groan. A thin figure was curled up by the trash can at the alley entrance. A few thugs were surrounding him, kicking and punching, arrogantly demanding to know what he was hiding. The person on the ground was clutching a light gray handkerchief. A tin box lay nearby. I immediately recognized him as a classmate from my class, a loner who was often bullied. You see, I heard my voice. The thugs spun around. Their faces instantly turned pale. Since my parents had some influence in Shanghai, these thugs were usually very wary of me. I didn't even put down my umbrella. Before they fled in panic as if they'd seen a ghost, the alley was left with only the sound of rain hitting the tin roof. I crouched down and held the umbrella steadily over Yici's head. Are you Oku? Should I take you to the hospital? There were still scars on her wrist from a burn 3 months ago. I reached out to help her, but she pulled her hand back as if shocked. The tin box hit the wall. A few crayons and half a bag of cat food rolled into the mud. Thank you, she said, bending down to pick up her bag. Her wet bangs covered the beauty mark at the corner of her eye. I noticed dark stains under her left fingernails. Dried blood. In such a heavy rainstorm, you're still out feeding the stray cats? Yici mumbled a vague reply, then suddenly started coughing violently. Her thin shoulders trembled in the rain. I took off my jacket and threw it over her. Isn't your mom away on business again? If you get sick, who will take care of your little brother? Just then, a flash of switch my past life crossed my mind. In the past life, Bai Wei seemed to see something outside the convenience store before heading to the alley. Now, seeing Yici, it suddenly clicked. Bai Wei must have seen Yici being bullied. My mind raced through the details of the past life. If Bai Wei left the convenience store in the past life to stop this bullying, her soaped appearance could easily have turned the thugs bullying into harassment. I tried to recall Yici's demeanor on Monday in the past life. His injuries were much worse then, but he didn't react much to Bai Wei's death. This meant he probably held off the thugs with all his might. So Bai Wei wasn't taken away by them. Since it wasn't them, then the real killer was someone else. After some reasoning, I immediately locked onto a key clue. The weapon. In such a heavy rain, whoever carried that fatal knife out was the prime suspect. Thinking those 3 thugs might have had knives, I immediately regretted letting them go. As for the injured Yici, in the past life, he managed to survive until graduation, so I had to set him aside for now. If you're Oku, go home quickly. I was about to leave, then stopped and looked at Yici's broken umbrella. I shoved my black umbrella into his hand. Your umbrella is broken. Use mine. I have instituted. Be careful and get home quickly. Before Yici could refuse, I had already plunged into the rain and disappeared from sight. Because of the heavy rain, those 3 thugs hadn't run far. They were sheltering under a nearby eaves. They were cursing and discussing whether to put a sack over my head as revenge, but they were afraid of my family's background. Just as they were hesitating, I had already rushed in front of them at lightning speed. The 3 thugs were startled, thinking I came to ask for money. They waved their hands and stepped back. Hey, friends. Can I borrow something? The 3 looked at each other, their eyes full of caution. Not borrowing money. Borrowing something else? They looked at me in confusion. I stared at them with an innocent smile. Borrow a knife. The 3 thugs froze, clearly not understanding my request. You guys are out here on the streets. You don't even have a knife? The taunt worked. The green-haired one reluctantly pulled out a butterfly knife from his pocket and showed off by twirling it in front of me. I took one look and knew it wasn't the one from the coroner's report. That fruit knife with a clean cut. This one was too flashy. I'll pay $100 for something like a fruit knife. With a reward like that. The other 2 thugs scrambled to pull out their knives. A multifunctional Swiss Army knife and a cold-looking military folding hunting knife. Neither was the murder weapon I was looking for. Good knives. Too bad I only have $100. Forget it. I ignored the thugs who were cursing, thinking I was messing with them, and turned to plunge back into the cold rain. Those 3 thugs didn't have the weapon I was looking for. That lead was completely dead. Intense frustration burned in my chest. The simplest way to solve the case was to reject Bai Wei Lai in the past life. Then secretly follow her. And catch the killer red-handed at the crime scene. But coming back again. The moment I saw her safe and sound, I couldn't suppress the pounding in my heart. I'd rather search through a haystack than risk her life even a little. I went back to the convenience store to buy an umbrella. A kind clerk handed me a clean towel to dry the rain from my head. I wiped off the water and put my phone in a waterproof bag. Then, mimicking Bai Wei's movements from the past life, I stepped back into the storm with my umbrella. As soon as I stepped into the rain, the wind nearly broke the umbrella's ribs. I walked through the mud and broken glass, finally reached the starting point of the camera blind spot. This was the crime scene repeatedly mentioned in the past life's forensic report. My waterproof watch glowed faintly. Showing 22:17. A strong wind suddenly rose and flipped the umbrella over. I simply abandoned the umbrella, letting the icy rain pour down on me. My phone vibrated in its waterproof case. I leaned against the damp brick wall and opened the home surveillance. In the warm yellow light, Bai Wei was curled up on the sofa corner, her feet rubbing together nervously, her eyes frequently glancing at the door, her expression filled with anticipation and a hint of worry. Just wait a little longer. Don't worry. The time was 22:29. A metallic clatter suddenly came from the end of the alley. I immediately crept over cautiously, but unexpectedly saw a familiar face. Jiang Yan, the famous troublemaker, Shanghai No. 2 High School. He was sitting under a makeshift awning, peeling an apple with a fruit knife. Isn't this old Gu? What are you doing out here in this storm, without an umbrella? Just out running an errand. My umbrella broke in the wind. What are you doing out here so late? Jiang Yan pointed the knife tip at a wrinkled apple in a plastic bag. I knew his tough guy image was just a facade. His family was poor. And his mother had severe kidney failure. Just brought some fruit for my mom. But she sent me away. The edges of his rain boots were stained with a non-slip plaster commonly used in hospital corridors. His clothes smelled of the disinfectant unique to the ICU. But my eyes were locked on the fruit knife in his hand. The knife's features matched the description of the murder weapon in Bai Wei's case perfectly. Why are you standing in the rain? Come over here. My place is right next door. I'll lend you an umbrella. As I stepped into the awning, Jiang Yan's phone suddenly rang urgently. A nurse's anxious voice came through, saying his mother's blood oxygen had dropped sharply. Jiang Yan's face changed instantly. The fruit knife fell into the puddle with a splash. Without even saying goodbye, he turned and sprinted madly into the rain. I bent down and picked up the knife from the muddy water. The cold touch hit me. After careful inspection, I fully confirmed that at this time and place, the size and style matched perfectly. This was a key murder weapon from Bai Wei's death in the past life. If the weapon was accidentally discarded by Jiang Yan, then the real killer would likely pass by and pick it up in the next half hour. I took a deep breath and threw the knife back where it was. Using my years of criminal investigation experience, I retreated into the shadows and waited quietly. The rain poured down. 22:35. A man reeking of alcohol sat unsteadily. A homeless man stumbled into the shelter. He kicked over a can. His mud-caked cloth shoes stepped heavily on the knife handle, pressing the blade deep into the mud. Then he left, shaking a half-empty bottle of cheap liquor. 22:47. A delivery driver braked sharply to avoid the rain, accidentally stepped on the knife and fell. He got up cursing and kicked the blade into a gap in the drain. Mud instantly covered the entire knife. The time was 22:55. The knife, covered in mud, was now extremely hard to find by accident. Only a few minutes remained until Bai Wei's estimated time of death in the past life. Suddenly, a figure in a black raincoat, wearing a mask, flashed from the end of the alley. He was hunched over and walked straight toward the mud-covered knife. He crouched down. Just as he reached for the knife handle, on his wrist, exposed by the sleeve, there was a conspicuous scar from a sulfuric acid burn. I stepped out of the shadows. In the dim light, I clearly saw the face under the hood. It was the well-known guy of Shanghai No. 2 High School, the chemistry teacher, Li Mingyuan. My mind was in turmoil. 3 months ago, he protected students who were messing around the lab and got burned by sulfuric acid himself. Afterward, he even gently comforted the students. He was also famously henpecked, with an impeccable reputation everywhere. But if he was the killer, all the doubts from the past life would make sense. In the past life, Bai Wei was attacked in the dark alley, but there were no signs of her trying to escape, because she absolutely trusted this gentle, nice guy. If Li Mingyuan offered to shelter her with his raincoat and take her home to his wife, in that desperate, stormy night, Bai Wei wouldn't have been suspicious at all. Thinking this, I felt a deep pain, but I couldn't act rashly. After all, Li Mingyuan hadn't committed the crime yet. I decided to use my investigative skills to probe his reason for being out so late. Teacher Li Mingyuan immediately looked up, seeing me completely soaked. His face was full of surprise and concern. Gu Nanchang, how did you get so drenched? I went out and got caught in the rain. Teacher Li, what are you doing out in this heavy rain? I stared at his expression intently, and keenly caught a flicker of hesitation in his eyes. Nothing much. Just out to buy a pack of cigarettes. He was lying. Li Mingyuan never smoked, and was known as a devoted family man. My raincoat is big enough. Use it to shelter for now. I'll take you to my place. Then you can borrow the raincoat to go home. He still wore that kind and friendly expression. I nodded woodenly, crowded into her raincoat. I noticed his gaze. It swept past the adult product vending machine, then quickly pulled back and wrapped around my shoulder. All the way, I was a walking corpse, dazed and lost. At the doorstep, Li Mingyuan suddenly pulled out his phone, sent a message and quickly put it away. I forgot my keys. Wait a moment. But I clearly felt the keys on his waist just now. This was his second lie tonight. My doubts kept growing. After a moment, the door finally opened. The one who opened the door was Li Mingyuan's wife, Xinqing, the chemistry teacher from the same school. She wore a silk robe, loosely tied. Her cheeks were flushed. The warm light from the hallway shone through. I glimpsed the tipped-over wine bottle on the coffee table, a lit scented candle, and scattered rose petals. The air was thick with lingering intimacy. In that instant, my mind cleared. All the clues instantly connected into a clear path. Teacher Li was planning a romantic evening with his wife, but found the supplies were used up, so he braved the rain to buy more. Out of his good-natured habit, he casually cleared the debris blocking the drain, and accidentally picked up that fruit knife because he ran into me. He felt too embarrassed to buy the supplies, and, worried about me alone, brought me back, and pretending to have forgotten his keys to send a message, was just to give his wife, in lingerie, time to change. All his unusual behavior now had a reasonable explanation. How did you get so soaked? Sorry about that. Here, use this towel. Thanks, teacher's wife. I took the towel and dried my hair, but my doubts turned into even greater confusion. If he was still that good guy, if his wife was eagerly waiting for him to come home, a man like that, would he really be tempted by a female student on the road? Kill and dump the body? Xinqing noticed Li Mingyuan still holding a dirty knife. She asked curiously, "Where did you find that knife?" "It's so dirty. Picked it up from the drain. It was blocking a lot of trash. Just happened to run into Gu Nanchang, so I forgot to throw it away." Li Mingyuan was about to toss the knife into the trash, but I suddenly sensed something was wrong. "Wait, Teacher Li. Let me see it." Li Mingyuan turned the knife in confusion, blade pointing inward, handle pointing outward, handing it to me, an instinctive defensive move. It confirmed his inherent gentleness again. I took the fruit knife and examined it closely. My face instantly changed. The light was too dim before. I hadn't noticed the blade had a slight nick. This was clearly caused by Jiang Yan cutting something hard with it. The forensic report had no mention of a nick. The cut would be noticeably different. This meant the real murder weapon wasn't this knife. I had completely targeted the wrong person. I quickly flipped my wrist and glanced at my watch. It was already 11 p.m. The real killer might just be appearing now. My heart raced. I quickly shoved the towel back to Xinqing. "Sorry, Teacher Li, it's too late. I need to get home now. I'll borrow your raincoat." I shoved the knife handle back into Li Mingyuan's hand, put on the raincoat and plunged into the downpour. I ran all the way back to the crime scene, searched the area back and forth several times. Occasionally, passers-by hurried by, but none looked like a killer who would stop midway. 11:30 p.m. The street was empty. I took out my phone to check the surveillance. Bai Wei was curled up on the sofa, sleepy, nodding like a chick pecking rice, but she was still forcing herself awake, occasionally looking at the door, waiting for me to come home. I clenched my fist. I simply took off the raincoat and continued pacing near the dark crime scene until midnight passed. Still, I didn't see any suspicious figure, but my heart was filled with a deep sense of helplessness and cold. Had I really missed it? Until midnight passed. Still, I didn't see any suspicious figure, but my heart was filled with a deep sense of helplessness and cold. Had I really missed it? If I can't find the killer, how can I clear Bai Wei's past grievances? I looked up, letting the rain pour down. My gaze grew more determined. Suddenly, my phone vibrated. I immediately opened the surveillance. In the footage, Bai Wei was sleepy and dazed, but still, fighting her fear of loneliness, she went to the door, pacing anxiously, full of worry. "Hey, hey, hey." The sudden sound startled him. He quickly looked toward the surveillance camera. "Gu Nanchang, I got held up. I'll be back soon. If you're tired, go to sleep." "It's okay. I'm not sleepy. I'll wait for you." He forced a gentle smile at the camera. "I promise I'll be right back." He dragged his tired body back into the blanket. His expression finally relaxed a bit. Looking at the empty street, I stood in the downpour, letting the cold water pour over me. This was my habit for years. Cold water quickly sharpens my mind. I began frantically retracing everything I encountered tonight. The convenience store clerk, Yi Ci, 3 thugs. I forced everyone into my list of suspects. Yi Ci, when he was robbed, his bag was upside down. They couldn't find a single cent on him, let alone a weapon. Exclude the 3 thugs. They had motive, but the knife they had didn't met. Exclude the homeless man and the delivery guy. The knife they touched wasn't the real weapon either. After eliminating all impossible people, my memory rewound and locked onto someone I thought was impossible. Jiang Yan. Jiang Yan ran to the hospital because his mother was critically ill and dropped the knife at the scene. But if his mother's condition stabilized quickly, half an hour was enough for him to run back and forth from the hospital. If on his way back, he realized he lost the knife and bought a new fruit knife at a nearby store, the case file did record between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. that night, someone bought a fruit knife in the rain, and the time he came back perfectly avoided the time I went to his house with Teacher Li. Tracing the whole line, Jiang Yan's suspicion instantly grew infinitely. To verify this theory was simple. Go knock on Jiang Yan's door now. If he was already home and really bought a new knife, then his suspicion was completely confirmed. I followed my memory to his neighborhood. My heart sank. His lights were on. I took a deep breath and knocked on the door. The door opened. Jiang Yan was shirtless, a towel on his head. "Old Gu, what the hell? So late and not home yet? Where'd you get this raincoat?" I walked inside. My eyes instantly locked onto a brand new fruit knife on the table. The mysterious person who bought a knife in the rain late at night in the case file was really him. Teacher Li lent it to me. "You just got back?" "Yeah, something came up with my mom earlier. I was in such a hurry I forgot to lend you an umbrella." "What are you doing out so late?" "Nothing, just lie walking in the rain." "You were in a hurry earlier. Your knife fell on the ground. Why did you buy a new one?" "Damn. I was wondering why I couldn't find it in my pockets." "Where'd it fall?" Teacher Li picked it up and threw it in the trash. "Oh well, that knife was used to cut wood, so it had a nick. I bought a new one on the way." She smiled casually, but my heart was heavy. His return time perfectly matched the crime time, and he really bought a matching weapon. The suspicion couldn't be ruled out. I chose my words carefully. Decided to tell him directly. We're friends, right? How can you even ask that? We're all brothers. If you're in trouble, just tell me. Looking at his loyal expression, I looked him straight in the eye. I don't want to see you end up in trouble. Think about the consequences. Your aunt needs you to take care of her. Don't do anything illegal. Jiang Yan was stunned. He completely misunderstood my meaning, thinking I knew his secret plan to sell fake cigarettes at school. He wasn't angry. Instead, he was deeply moved that I came in the rain to warn him. Don't worry, others don't know my style, but you do. I won't do it. Seeing my goal achieved, I stood up to leave. I didn't know that this accidental warning made him completely give up the idea of selling fake cigarettes. As I turned and walked into the rain, he pounded his chest behind me like a loyal friend, vowing silently that I was his brother for life. With mixed feelings, I said goodbye to Jiang Yan, carrying Teacher Li's raincoat. I quietly returned to his doorstep, put down the raincoat. Faint sounds of intimacy came from inside, so I didn't disturb them. Walking home in the rain, my mood gradually lightened. If Jiang Yan was really the killer, at least he was still at a stage where he could be guided and have his evil thoughts eliminated. I met so many people tonight. None had more suspicion than him. I got home after midnight, with the sound of the door opening. Bai Wei, half asleep in the blanket, suddenly opened her eyes. Seeing me back, she immediately smiled happily and trotted over. But as she got close, she saw I was soaked like a drowned rat. You went to buy a late-night snack. How did you get so wet? The wind was too strong, my umbrella broke, and the snack blew away. You don't get to eat. You should go take a hot bath. You'll catch a cold like this. Seeing her concerned face, I smiled. The guest room only has a hard bed. Nothing is set up. You can sleep on the sofa tonight. Or squeeze in with me. I'll sleep on the sofa. Just kidding. You take the bed, I'll take the sofa. Let me take a bath first. I don't want to get the freshly mopped floor all wet. So I just took off my soaked clothes in the living room. Hearing the rustle of fabric, Bai Wei instinctively looked up. His tense muscles made her heart race. She felt her face burning hot. Her throat felt blocked, unable to speak. I'll go take a bath first. I'll call you to go to the bedroom when I'm done. I didn't notice her discomfort. Grabbed my wet clothes and went into the bathroom. Bai Wei nodded mechanically until the sound of water came from the bathroom. She collapsed onto the sofa like a puppet with its strings cut, pressing the back of her hand against her burning cheek. After who knows how long, I came out wrapped in a towel. I was going to call her to the bedroom, but I saw her hugging the blanket like a kitten, curled up on the sofa, fast asleep, letting out soft, peaceful breaths. I walked over slowly, kneeled down and quietly studied her sleeping face. Watching her steady breathing, I still felt like I was dreaming. As I reached out to brush a strand of hair from her face, a drop of water from my arm fell onto her slightly parted lips. She unconsciously licked it, startling me. I quickly pulled my hand back. A thunderclap outside made Bai Wei suddenly turn over, kicking off half the blanket. I instinctively reached out to catch it, but touched her warm, soft ankle. I could clearly feel her steady breathing had faltered. Her eyelashes fluttered, her temperature rising. She was awake but didn't open her eyes. I didn't call her out. Instead, I picked her up, blanket and all, and walked steadily toward the bedroom. The girl in my arms grew more nervous. I gently laid her on the bed, pulled out the blanket and covered her with my own. Then I leaned down to her ear. Good night. The warm breath made her instinctively shrink her neck. I smiled and turned to leave the room. As the door closed, Bai Wei opened her eyes in the dark. In those few steps from the living room to the bedroom, her mind had gone completely blank. She was extremely nervous, but she never expected to hear a sweet good night. She grabbed the edge of the blanket with her small hand and pulled it up to her nose. The faint scent of shower gel lingered on the blanket. For the first time in her life, she didn't curl up, but stretched out, wrapped in the blanket, and fell deeply asleep. The next morning, the rain that had poured all night finally let up. Well rested, Bai Wei got up early, changed into the clothes she had dried last night. To fulfill her promise of doing chores as repayment, she diligently cleaned the bedroom for me. But when she tiptoed out of the room, she froze in place. Last night, I was too tired. My lower half was wrapped in a towel, covered with a blanket. I had fallen asleep on the sofa. Now, I was facing away from her, but the towel that should have been wrapped around me had somehow completely fallen to the floor. Bai Wei's face instantly turned bright red. To distract herself, she skillfully used the ingredients in the fridge to make sandwiches and warm milk. But her mind couldn't stop replaying that embarrassing scene from earlier. Just as Bai Wei set the breakfast on the table, I also woke up on the sofa, half asleep. I instinctively reached for the bedside table to find my gun, but only touched the cold glass of the coffee table. I pushed myself up with my left hand. The old injury on my left shoulder from chasing a gangster didn't even sting. I pressed my temples, frowned and lifted the towel. The skin under my gaze was completely different from my memory. The knife scars from fights were gone, replaced by smooth, youthful skin. I was fully awake. I had really returned to 10 years ago. I quickly turned to look at the open bedroom door. My heart skipped a beat, until I saw her busy figure in the kitchen. I collapsed back onto the sofa, let out a long sigh of relief. Thank God, it's not a dream. She had really survived that stormy night. In my past life as a detective, I carried endless guilt and exhaustion, never enjoying a single day of youthful life. Now she was still here, and my youth had returned. This time, I decided to lie well. Gu Nanchang, time to eat. I've made breakfast. I hope it's to your taste. Bai Wei peeked out from the dining room and called out gently. I sat up and sniffed the aroma. The air was filled with a tempting scent of wheat and milk. Coming, I walked to the table. Bai Wei was sitting quietly, waiting for me. Next time, don't wait for me. Eat first. It's okay. I'll wait for you to finish so we can wash the dishes together. Try it. Tell me if it needs improvement. I'll adjust next time. With this skill, you could open a shop on the school's back street. I'll be the cashier, you'll be the chef. I used to be pretty self-sufficient when I lived alone. But living with you, I'm afraid I'll turn into a lazy pig. Bai Wei cupped her cheeks in her hands. Her smile grew brighter. I bit into the sandwich. The warm egg and cheese melted on my tongue. It tasted surprisingly good. I pulled out a tissue and casually wiped the oil off her nose. Bai Wei's ears instantly turned red. She shyly looked down and stirred her milk. After breakfast, I was about to clear the dishes when I accidentally touched her outstretched hand. That hand was soft but icy cold. Bai Wei insisted on doing all the chores. She quickly cleaned the kitchen spotlessly. Just as she came out of the kitchen, she looked around, ready to continue working. I grabbed her small hand and forced her to sit on the sofa. You look tired. No working for the next 2 days. I'm the master here. You have to obey my orders and rest, or I'll kick you out. Bai Wei was intimidated by my words and obediently nodded. Come with me shopping later. I'll buy you some new clothes. I'll go home and get some changes. Mentioning home, her expression showed clear resistance and discomfort. No need. Buy new ones. If you don't have money, just owe me. I'll charge interest. You'll have to work as my maid long enough. If you can't pay it off, I won't let you go. Bai Wei naturally understood the hint of retention in my words. A warmth flowed through her heart. Finally, she showed a peaceful smile and quietly agreed. Where do you usually buy clothes? At the second-hand clothing shop on the corner of the school's back street. $50 can get a whole outfit, but I always disinfect them carefully. I boil them in soapy water 3 times and then dry them in the sun. Her soft voice carried a hint of nervousness, afraid I would look down on her. I suddenly remembered a place. The clothes there are really good. Suddenly, I took her hand. Bai Wei stumbled half a step. Her forehead lightly bumped into my shoulder blade. She didn't pull away, letting me lead her. We stopped in front of a glass window at the corner. The tailor shop's wooden door was ajar, the sound of a copper bell and a gramophone, mixing with a lazy French song. Bai Wei looked at the expensive fabrics in the window, and nervously pinched through Nanqing's sleeve. This place looks so expensive. The owner is my mom's old classmate. She caters to students. It's not expensive. Come on in. I pushed open the door. The shop was filled with the scent of ironed cotton. Aunt Sue behind the counter looked up. Her eyes fell on our joined hands. A smile crinkled the corners of her eyes. Oh, what a beautiful girl. Nanchang, bringing your girlfriend to pick out clothes? Bai Wei's ears turned bright red. I noticed her nervousness. Gently let go of her hand. Aunt Sue, help her pick out some seasonal clothes. And some underwear too. Pure cotton, class A. Aunt Sue smiled and pulled Bai Wei behind the curtain. The curtain only covered below the neck. Bai Wei felt she was exposed to my view. Shyly, she shrank back toward the shelves. I stepped back and sat by the window, absent-mindedly flipping through a sample book. But her soft voice from behind the curtain clearly reached my ears. That lace one, really, no need. Auntie, a woman should please herself. Underwear is worn inside. Just wear what you lie. This set will definitely drive that brat Nanchang crazy. You lie it. And he'll lie it too. Win-win. Bai Wei wanted to explain our relationship, but the words wouldn't come out. Finally, she just blushed and agreed. After picking out the underwear, Aunt Sue brought out a few more outfits and went behind the curtain. Listening to the rustle of fabric, a thin layer of sweat formed on the back of my neck. I couldn't stop imagining how she would look in them. The curtain swished open. Does it look weird? Bai Wei twirled the hem of her skirt. The morning light enveloped her in a translucent, secret color. The cotton skirt swayed in a beautiful arc like a blooming lily of the valley. My Adam's apple bobbed heavily. I suddenly stood up and smoothed her shirt collar. You buttoned the second button wrong. My fingers accidentally brushed the skin on her neck. I pulled my hand back as if shocked and grabbed a straw sun hat, placed it on her head to hide my fluster. Looks like you're both satisfied. Try this one. The curtain opened again. Semi-transparent linen fabric outlined the girl's curves in the morning light. I couldn't take my eyes off her. Aunt Sue had a good eye. Each outfit fit perfectly. Seeing she was getting carried away, I quickly stopped her. Oku, Aunt Sue, that's enough. My card can't take much more. What's there to fear? I'll bill your mom later. Spending money on your future daughter-in-law. She'd be thrilled. I thought you two had already, you know. I smiled bitterly and begged her to keep it quiet. Aunt Sue joked and gave me a 90% discount. At checkout, she wrapped the underwear separately, leaned in and whispered in my ear. Your little girlfriend's figure. Auntie has verified it. I coughed, choking, blushing. He handed over the credit card. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Bai Wei tiptoeing to look at the lace nightgown by the window. Under the morning light, she looked incredibly youthful and beautiful. In a daze, the image of her tragic, deathly face in the rainstorm from the past life flashed through his mind again. I suddenly clenched my fist, swearing silently in my heart, as long as I'm alive in this life, I will absolutely protect this beauty before me. Done. Only the bedding is left. I walked ahead carrying the shopping bags. Bai Wei's pace was a bit slower. She secretly glanced at me from the corner of her eye. The mint green lace edge of the dress in the shopping bag fluttered slightly in the wind. The furniture store was on the 4th floor. Just pick whatever you like. After all, you'll be the one sleeping on it. At that moment, we were a young couple out shopping. She walked into the bedding store with a mix of nervousness and sweetness. The warm yellow lighting made everything look very soft. I pushed the shopping cart beside her, watching her bend over to choose. I had the illusion of a newlywed couple furnishing their home. Isn't this too expensive? What's the big deal? If you like it, try it first. I took down a silk quilt and stuffed it into his arms. He smiled but said nothing. When I crouched in front of the shelf to compare the fillings, he quietly put back the 4-figure silk quilt and picked up a cheap, light green washed cotton one. This feels nice. What is it? The texture is so poor. I realized he was put off by the price. I stood up and gently tapped her forehead. Good bedding can improve sleep quality. Besides, you won't be staying in the guest room anymore. We can wash it and leave it for guests later. It's okay to buy the expensive one. The double meaning of we and not staying in the guest room made him catch a different implication. He was a bit stunned. Come over and try the support of this mattress. Before he could react, I pulled her into the fluffy silk quilt and casually stuffed a memory foam pillow behind her head. My palm gently supported the small of her back through the fabric. Bai Wei's cheeks flushed in the soft bedding. She felt as if the air around her was filled with honey-like sweetness. After After buying everything, he stared at the shopping cart, but with a low voice, he whispered, "Thank you. Thank you, Gu Nancheng." I suddenly stopped. He instinctively bumped into my back. "From now on, don't say the word thank you. Actions speak louder than words. Before you repay me, you must not get into any trouble." He was stunned, but still nodded obediently. "Let's go home." After paying, I left the address for delivery. I carried the clothes and took her home. Passing by the corner shop, the aroma of osmanthus rice wine wafted through the air. I bought a hot rice cake. I blew on it and handed it to his mouth. He took a bite of the sugar. A bit of osmanthus stuck to the corner of his mouth. I casually wiped it off with my thumb. "Is it good?" "Yeah, it's very sweet and fragrant. Next time, I'll take you to the snack street. There's even more good fruit there." Hearing my promise, he gazed at my back with infatuated eyes. I didn't know that he had always remembered the promise we made in the park when we were young. When we got home with the toiletries, the bedding had already arrived. I was kneeling on the guest room floor, putting on the duvet cover. Bai Wei stood by, holding the new pillows. "Let me do it. I'll handle it." "Afraid you'll sew yourself into the quilt." I shook out the star and moon pattern sheet. Then I turned and draped the sheet over his head like a curtain. "Now the whole bed, the whole room is yours. Until you get tired of it." These simple words instantly struck the depths of his heart. She suddenly turned around. I keenly sensed a faint sourness in the air, seeing her shoulders trembling unnaturally. She was crying, probably for the first time. She felt what it was like to have a home. To lighten the mood, I deliberately joked, "Don't get too moved yet. I'm still going to charge you rent as usual. You can stay, but you need to figure out how to repay the debt." Hearing this, Bai Wei wiped the corner of her eyes and turned back. Her eyes were slightly red, but a brilliant, radiant smile bloomed on her face. I had just settled Bai Wei in, and was lying on the sofa to catch my breath, when a sudden doorbell rang abruptly. Bai Wei instinctively stepped back in fright. Having experienced the tragedy of the past life, my nerves were already stretched to the limit. I dared not be careless at all, afraid that the person outside the door was the killer hiding in the shadows. I jumped up suddenly, and shielded her tightly behind me. "Let me open it." Sensing my excessive protectiveness, Bai Wei was a bit surprised, but a hint of sweetness appeared in her eyes. I approached the peephole. I was facing a great enemy, but I saw that it was actually Jiang Yan standing outside. My current prime suspect. On this day in the past life, Jiang Yan never came to my house. The timeline had changed. This sudden visit immediately heightened my vigilance. I forced down my racing heart, and opened the door. "Jiang Yan, why are you here?" "Nothing. Can't I come see you?" "Last night, with the heavy wind and rain, you got soaked so badly, I was afraid you'd catch a cold. So I specially asked my mom to teach me how to make a warming soup and brought it to you." Seeing the thermos in his hands, I suddenly understood. It was my act of braving the rain last night to persuade him. That moved him, thus triggering this butterfly effect. Looking at this guy who valued brotherhood so much, I didn't know how to react for a moment. "I do feel a bit dizzy." "Then drink 2 bowls while it's hot." Jiang Yan was about to enter, when he suddenly saw Bai Wei, whom I was shielding behind me. He paused for a moment. His eyes darted back and forth between us. "Bai Wei, you know her?" Got it. "Hello, sister-in-law. Looks like I came at a bad time. Drink this brown sugar ginger and date soup while it's hot. It's also good for you, sister-in-law. I still need to go to the hospital to take care of my mom, so I won't be a third wheel." Jiang Yan turned and ran off quickly. Watching his simple, sunny back, I felt a mix of emotions. I really found it hard to believe that such a loyal and emotional person could be the cruel killer. I even desperately hoped to find another real suspect soon, to clear him of suspicion in my mind. Bai Wei watched the direction Jiang Yan left. Everyone says he's the school's bad boy, but why doesn't he seem like it at all? Don't judge a book by its cover. He's also someone with a shittery. Many things aren't as simple as they seem on the surface. I opened the thermos. A strong aroma of ginger and dates hit my nose. I ladled out 2 bowls and handed one to her. "You got pretty soaked last night too. I've noticed you've been looking pale lately. Drink more to replenish yourself." The spicy sweet soup entered my mouth, and a wave of warmth spread through my limbs. Bai Wei had always heard others speak ill of him. I never expected him to be such a nice person. It's all forced by life. He wouldn't have turned out that way otherwise. Hearing the words "forced by life," Bai Wei's expression suddenly darkened. Clearly, those simple words also struck a deep chord with her own difficult past. About Bai Wei's family situation, I only knew the gist of it. When investigating her case in the past life, I had looked up her parents, but basically found nothing. Her parents were divorced, each had remarried and started new families. She had always lived with her mother, but it made me certain that in the past life, on that rainy night, when Bai Wei came to me with nowhere to go, it was definitely related to her family of origin. In the past life, I learned from a neighbor that Bai Wei had rushed out of the house in the rain that night because of a conflict with her stepfather. It seemed she had even stabbed her stepfather, but when I asked, they flatly denied it. They said the stepfather had slipped on the wet floor and accidentally fallen onto the knife her mother was peeling an apple with. They also said that the stepfather had seen photos of boys in Bai Wei's phone and scolded her, which led to the argument. Shortly after Bai Wei left home, they went to the hospital. Surveillance footage confirmed the time they arrived at the hospital, ruling out their involvement in the crime. However, when they learned of Bai Wei's death, the stepfather showed no reaction, but her mother fainted on the spot. Afterward, she went completely mad. What pained me even more was that the investigation showed Bai Wei, after leaving her mother's house, had gone to her father's house, but soon, she came out again. In the surveillance footage, she hung her head low, her mood even more dejected than when she arrived. On that rainy night, she was rejected by the homes of both her closest relatives. Finally, she came to my house. I couldn't imagine how much despair she must have felt when she knocked on my door. Every time I think of this, the regret in my heart floods over me like a tide. Thankfully, fate gave me a second chance. I will never let go of her hand again. I walked into the living room carrying a glass of hot milk. Bai Wei was curled up in a corner, reading a book. The warm light outlined her slender silhouette. I noticed her unconsciously rubbing a pale, crescent-shaped scar on the inside of her left wrist. "Try this. It's sweetened with honey." I placed the glass in her palm. She was about to thank me, but remembering my rule, she swallowed the words. Amidst the milky aroma, I noticed she was actually looking at me. I casually placed it on the bookshelf. What? Want to become a fortune teller? Yeah, once I learn, I'll do a reading for you. She smiled playfully. As they spoke, a sudden, harsh screech of car brakes came from outside the window. Bai Wei's back stiffened abruptly. The milk nearly spilled. I quickly grabbed her trembling hand. After confirming nothing had happened outside, I sat back down beside her and gently held her hand. Don't worry. You still owe me a debt. Until it's paid off, no one can take you away. Bai Wei, who had just been startled, heard this. Her heart beat even faster. Once I learn, I'll calculate if we're compatible. I'm afraid you'll jinx me, the village chief. Bai Wei heard this. Her little face instantly turned bright red. She had long secretly checked their birth charts, and they were surprisingly very compatible. What's your college application plan? I have some ideas, but I haven't decided yet. What about you? Mine's simple. Whatever you apply for, I'll apply for. You owe me a huge debt. If I don't keep an eye on you, you might run off, and I'd lose everything. Bai Wei stirred her spoon in small circles, looking into my smiling eyes. A bittersweet feeling rose in her throat. I want to apply for psychology at Jing University or Kyoto Medical University. Those two universities are no joke. Why do you want to study psychology? A thought suddenly flashed through my mind about her mother going mad. Could her mother have had a mental illness? Bai Wei opened her mouth but ultimately didn't explain. That's a good major. It'll also help you toughen up your own mental resilience. I'll work really hard, then I'll tutor you. He looked at me in surprise. My grades are only average in the class right now. And he's at the top. What? You look down on me? No, you're lying. You can't look people in the eye when you lie. And you pause when you speak. I know that. Hearing this, it meant to her that I had been secretly watching her. The sweetness in her heart instantly surpassed that of the milk. To prove myself, I grabbed a practice book and did several pages in a flash. Fast and accurate. In truth, in the past life, to get into the People's Public Security University and find the real killer, I had studied like a madman. These problems were already etched into my soul. Seeing my hidden academic prowess, a look of admiration flashed in Bai Wei's eyes. So I'll owe you another tutoring fee on top of everything else? What if I can't pay it back? Then sign this, give me your IOU. I pulled out paper and a pen and handed it to him. I was just joking. I didn't expect him to actually take it. He lowered his head and started writing seriously. I wanted to see what he would write, but Bai Wei only wrote IOU and party on the paper, leaving a big blank space between the words Bai Wei. He smiled and handed the paper back to me. You fill in the conditions in the middle. This creditor can fill it in himself. Then I can do whatever I want? What kind of service do you want? She smiled playfully. I suddenly leaned close to her ear. My warm breath brushed against the back of her ear, making her feel a tickle. Forget about service. I do have one command. Hearing this, Bai Wei nervously swallowed. You must be in bed by 12 o'clock tonight, and don't get up before 7 tomorrow. I'll make breakfast tomorrow. She looked at me in surprise. Then a warm, brilliant smile spread across her face. Debt, sir, village chief. After nightfall, under my forceful command, Bai Wei obediently went to bed. I poured her a glass of hot milk. Lock the door? It's fine, I'll leave. She looked at the doorknob but ultimately didn't lock it. Back in my room, I let out a long sigh of relief. In the past life, to numb my guilt, I worked cases like crazy, even refusing the easy pot my mentor arranged, afraid that if I slowed down, I'd think of her. Now, back 10 years, she was saved, and I was finally free. After some mental self-assurance, I fell into a deep sleep. In my dream, I returned to a corner of the childhood park. A little girl, like a porcelain doll, was sobbing. Why are you still crying at your age? I'm not crying. Did they bully you? I'll make them apologize to you. The little girl quickly grabbed him and said, it's not about anyone else. Little Gu Nancheng pulled out a clean handkerchief his mom had prepared and gently wiped away her tears. Why are you staring at me like that? He looked at his reflection in a puddle, looking silly, making the little girl laugh through her tears. My name is Gu Nancheng. I often come here to play. From now on, if you're unhappy, you can always come to me. With his mother's call, the little boy ran off. The alarm clock rang loudly. I snapped my eyes open, mumbling to myself, why did I suddenly dream of childhood? At the same time, Bai Wei was also trapped in that park dream. Dad, Mom, there's one. Are you going to leave me? Don't cry. I thought it was something serious. Both my mom and dad left me, and I didn't cry. Little Bai Wei looked at him in surprise. She didn't expect this little boy to be so strong. He pulled her into a hug and started comforting her in return. What will you do if your parents leave? I'll lie with my grandparents. The adults said, they'll come back once they're done with their business. I heard that after parents leave, there will be new family members. Then he won't want me anymore. I'm so scared. The little boy wiped away her tears again. He took her hand. Then come to my house. My house is pretty big. I heard my parents say they wanted a daughter. We can be a family. This innocent, childish remark made little Bai Wei burst into tears again. So there was still a place for her in this world. But he never came again after that. He left a note full of gratitude, hidden in the place where they often met. At the end of the dream, Bai Wei watched the little boy's retreating figure, unaware that her eyes were already wet with tears. I knocked on the guest room door and woke Bai Wei up. At the table, I had specially made a red date, red bean, barley, and lily porridge to nourish her blood. Watching her sip the hot porridge like a little cat, I couldn't help but stare. Why are you looking at me like that? I suddenly realized you look like someone. A little girl I met when I was very young. She moved away after less than half a month of playing together. I think you look just like her. Didn't she say goodbye to you? Hearing Bai Wei's question, I fell into memory. No, she didn't say goodbye in person. I only found a torn little note, and realized she was gone. The note was ruined by the rain. Only half of it was left. I looked at Bai Wei, feeling more and more that she resembled that little girl. I asked her if she had met a little boy in the park when she was young, but she just smiled playfully and told me to guess. Bai Wei's mood was visibly brightening. She finally understood why I had shown no reaction when I first heard her name. It was because the note with the name had been torn. Knowing that I had actually always remembered her, she rebelliously didn't give me a direct answer. I guess you're not her. Because you're much prettier than she was. Seeing her face instantly blush, I smiled triumphantly. After breakfast, I planned to take her out to buy a phone. After all, I couldn't keep her tied to me 24/7. At the same time, I was figuring out how to ask my mom, who was far away, for some money. Last night's clothes and high-end bedding had maxed out my credit card. I just sent a message asking to borrow 5,000. Unexpectedly, my mom directly transferred 50,000. Seeing my mom's message saying, if it's not enough, just tell mom, and her advice to have a good relationship, I smiled wryly. It seemed Aunt Sue had already reported about me taking the girls to buy underwear to my mom. With this strong financial support, I felt much more confident. With nothing to do on Sunday, is there anywhere you want to go? I want to visit the park in the old town. The park in the old town? Isn't that where I met that little girl back then? Combined with what she just said, and the background of her divorced and remarried parents, plus her habit of not looking people in the eye when lying, and pausing when speaking, all the details clicked perfectly into place. A violent tremor shook my heart. In the past life, with her death, my world had fallen into darkness. I had no time to recall my childhood. Now, thinking carefully, she was that little girl from back then. That park is good for flying kites. Let's buy a kite on the way. After flying it, we can go to the snack street. Sounds good. I've never flown a kite before. Seeing her get as excited as a child about flying a kite, my heart was full of tenderness. What was ordinary for others was a rare experience for her. I swore silently in my heart, no matter how much color she had missed, I would make it up to her, one by one. First, let's go buy you a phone. If you don't have a phone, what if something happens? How would your creditor find you? Hearing this lame excuse, she smiled and nodded. Pushing open the glass door of the phone store, the clerk enthusiastically lifted the dust cover and recommended a pink phone suitable for young couples. Hearing this term, Bai Wei shyly tugged at her light green skirt. I pointed at the pink phone priced at 4,888 yuan. Seeing her staring at the price tag in a daze, I directly reached out and blocked her view. Don't look at things you shouldn't. The creditor has the final say. The clerk brought a demo phone and taught us how to take selfies. The viewfinder caught my profile. Bai Wei frantically pressed the shutter, but the photo only showed half of my sleeve. For a selfie, you need to be this close. I leaned in and held her hand. The warmth of my palm seeped through the back of her hand into her skin. I pressed the shutter almost against her temple. The screen lit up, showing her slightly tilting her head up. My cheek was pressed against her hair. The glass behind us reflected our overlapping shadows. Anyone would think we were a young couple secretly taking a selfie. After buying the phone, the clerk offered to engrave the couple's initials for Fry. Then engrave this, G-N-C-M. Bai Wei looked at the letters, full of confusion. The first three are the initials of my name. But what do the last two letters mean? As I walked out of the shop, he was still lost in thought, almost tripping over the threshold. I reached out and steadied her in my arms. The faint scent of her hair lingered around my nose. Watch where you're going, silly girl. Just tell me, please. Otherwise, I can't stop thinking about it. He rarely tugged at my sleeve and acted spoiled. All right, you win. Am I your debtor? It means my master. Of course, it could mean other things too. Bai Wei suddenly understood. Then he seemed to think of something else. His heart suddenly raced. Her delicate face flushed red again. Seeing Bai Wei's blushing face, I chuckled to myself. He must have figured out those two letters. He definitely got it. I never mentioned the my man part. This mix of inferiority and anticipation made her look especially charming. The bot rumbled toward the old town. That's where our childhoods overlapped. I took out one earbud, gently placed it in her ear. Have you heard this song? Zhang Jiwa's Don't Cry. My most loved one. I really lie it. In that moment, a flood of memories from my past life flashed back. I'd listened to this song countless times late at night, mourning his tragic death. The lyric, tonight I bloom lie an epiphyllum, fading at the most beautiful moment, felt lie a prophecy of his fate. The ethereal, sorrowful cover by Lei Ting came through the earbuds. Bai Wei listened, tears silently streaming down. I don't know. In her past life, she thought of ending it on the rooftop countless times. It was the shadow of that little boy from childhood that kept her going until now. These tears were her farewell to her past gloomy self. As I was lost in sorrow, a soft hand gently touched my cheek. Bai Wei's eyes were filled with heart-wrenching concern. Just lie when we were kids. She suddenly pulled me into a tight embrace. The warmth from the girl's back overlapped with the little girl who comforted me in the park. I didn't pull away, letting time stand still in that moment. The morning sun streamed into the bot window, dispelling the gloom that had long weighed on our hearts. We got off the bot. The wind in the old town carried the scent of camphor leaves. The breakfast stalls, the bicycle bells. Nothing had changed. Come on, let's go buy a kite in the alley. Bai Wei, lie a curious child, followed closely behind me. We stopped at a kite stall. She immediately picked out that peach-pink butterfly. Young couple, want one each? This blue one matches perfectly. Fly two together. Then how would I find a chance to hold her hand? The stall owner was taken aback by my joke. Bai Wei covered her mouth and chuckled. Her initial nervousness faded a lot. The spring breeze brushed our faces. I ran ahead with the kite, demonstrating how to launch it. Speed up. Start running. Under my guidance, the butterfly kite finally caught the wind and soared. Bai Wei looked up at the sky, her eyes sparkling with a light I'd never seen before. Want to try? I handed her the spool. Suddenly, a gust of wind made her stumble. I took the chance to wrap my arms around her from behind. My warm palm covered her hand. In that instant, I breathed in the jasmine scent of her hair. Gu Nanchang. I remember when we were kids, you always said clouds looked like cotton candy. You wanted to taste it. Now I found something even more like it. It's you. Because your smile is as soft and sweet as cotton candy. Just as we were having our sweet moment, I suddenly spotted a familiar figure crouching nearby. Jiangyan, what are you doing here? Jiangyan was startled. Ah, old Gu, nothing much. Said he was waiting for a friend. Following Jiangyan's gaze, I saw him staring at a girl with a ponytail, helping out at her father's barbecue stall. Looking at that girl, I suddenly remembered Jiangyan's tragic past life. In the past life, Jiangyan and this girl fell in love. To overcome her father's prejudice against his reputation as a school bully, Jiangyan made tremendous efforts. He cut his hair short and painfully removed his tattoos. He distanced himself from bad friends and quit smoking. Even his clothes became clean and tidy. But no matter how he changed, in the girl's father's eyes, he was always a wolf trying to trick his daughter. The girl, heartbroken for Jiangyan, ran away from home in anger and moved into his place. Jiangyan's mother was Hetpai, but often urged the girl to talk things out with her father, who knew the girl's father wouldn't understand. Instead, he showed up with the police. In front of the neighbors, he loudly accused Jiangyan of ruining his daughter, threatening to sue him for rape. Jiangyan's mother already had severe kidney disease and complications. The SOC made her blood rush to her head. She died on the spot. The girl's father was completely stunned. He only meant to scare Jiangyan, never expecting it would lead to a death. A good relationship turned into a deadly feud in an instant. Jiangyan's mother was his only emotional support. Overwhelmed by grief and rage, he nearly fought right there, though the girl's father later regretted and relented. How could Jiangyan go against his conscience and be with the daughter of his mother's killer? In the end, they went their separate ways. Not long after, Jiangyan dropped out and left the city. Years later, I ran into him at a police station. He had become a ragged, homeless man sleeping under a bridge. He was insane. He only repeated one phrase: I have a mother killer to avenge. Extreme pain had burned away his sanity. He forgot how to take revenge. He could only spend the rest of his life in madness. Recalling his dazed look back then, the pain I felt was no less than seeing Bai Wei's tragedy. So even though the knife pointed to him in the past life, I firmly believed he wasn't that kind of heinous murderer. Since fate gave me a second chance, I couldn't let the tragedy repeat. I planned to give Jiangyan the 100,000 yuan reward for the fugitive tip. With the police's endorsement, the girl's father's prejudice would surely lessen significantly. Wait. What's up, old Gu? I'll tell you at school tomorrow. Jiangyan scratched his head, confused. As they talked, a guy holding a little boy's hand passed by and froze. When he saw me, Yi Si, what a coincidence, out shopping with your brother. Yi Si nodded expressionlessly, as if unsure what expression to wear in front of me. Hello, brother Gu. His little brother Yi 11 was very sweet, because I'd helped his brother. He was quite close to me. Hello to you too, little 11, good boy. I smiled and ruffled Yi Xi's hair, but Bai Wei keenly noticed that Yi Xi's look at me was off. When Gu Nanchang touched E11, Yi Xi's eyes showed an uncontrollable impulse and fervor. He was extremely envious that his brother got Gu Nanchang's touch. He wished he could trade places. The intense emotion made her tremble slightly. Bai Wei was scared by that eerie, fervent look. She couldn't tell if it was extreme malice or some unsettling kindness. Sensing Bai Wei's gaze, Yi Si suddenly turned around, shooting a sharp look at her. Bai Wei, frightened, stepped aside and hid behind me, grabbing my sleeve tightly. I looked up at Yi Si. She instantly withdrew all her intensity, reverting to that lifeless, dull look. I don't know what goes on in her head. You two keep shopping. I'm full. I'll head off. Yi Si nodded nervously, leaning forward slightly. Bai Wei, are you really full? School tomorrow, so go to bed early tonight. I won't be making you any late-night snacks. Hearing this, Yi Si's eyes widened. She opened her mouth to ask something, but ultimately closed it. I'm full. Let's go. Bai Wei seemed a bit scared. Yi Si pulled me and quickly walked out of the snack street until his little brother tugged his sleeve. Brother. Yi Si only then looked away from the street corner, showing a rare gentle smile to his family. Bai Wei was too full, sitting on the sofa, gently rubbing her stomach. I sat down beside her, took her hands, and placed them on her belly, teaching her to rub in clockwise circles. Seeing my patient, earnest look, Bai Wei blushed. This warm atmosphere felt more comfortable than at her own parents' home. I went to the kitchen and made her a honey, mint, and lemon drink. Meanwhile, Bai Wei, sitting on the sofa, suddenly fell into a fear of losing what she had. The long-term oppression from her original family made her afraid that this dreamlike beauty was just a false bubble, fearing she'd wake up tomorrow to that cold home again. I noticed her unease. I went over and pressed my forehead to hers, checking her temperature to confirm she wasn't feverish. Then I sat down beside her. Honey lemon water with a bit of mint. Good for digestion. I scooped up the tea with a porcelain spoon, slowly bringing it to her lips. She was shy and wanted to drink it herself, but I insisted, saying it wouldn't add to her fullness, and fed her spoonful by spoonful. With each sip, the sweet and sour warmth slid down her throat to her stomach. Seeing my gentle, patient actions without any annoyance, Bai Wei's eyes glistened with tears. The long-suppressed depression and unease in her heart were slowly melting away with this strong sense of security. That night, Bai Wei slept soundly. In her dream, she saw her late grandparents. With tears of happiness, she told them that she had met a very, very good boy. At the end of the dream, she held my hand and waved goodbye to her grandparents in the sky. As her long-standing psychological issues slowly healed, her mindset gradually changed. She finally found long-lost peace and calm. The next morning, Bai Wei got up early and made breakfast. Watching her busy figure, I noticed she seemed completely different. Her mood had become much brighter and more optimistic. After breakfast, we put on our school uniforms and walked out side by side. Bai Wei, let's go to your place in the next couple of days to move your stuff. Hearing the word home, Bai Wei visibly flinched. Suddenly, the whole scene shifted. She had no idea how to face those two broken families. I held her cold left hand tightly, passing the warmth from my palm to her. Don't worry, you don't need to fear your family's objections. I have a way to stop him. Gu Nanchang, I really don't want to go back. She held my hand back, her eyes full of pure trust and strong longing. Trust me, I won't let you go back. You still owe me a debt now. You're not allowed to slip away until it's paid off. Bai Wei smiled and nodded. After seeing the brightest light of this life, she finally had the courage to completely escape that darkness. The next day, Bai Wei and I walked to school together. The classroom was filled with the sound of reading. Just as Bai Wei and I sat down, my deskmate Sujin leaned in with a gossipy look. Hey, I heard you two went to the night market together yesterday. Very sweet. Is it true? Bai Wei blushed shyly. Surprised, I pinched Sujin's sun-kissed cheek. Who told you? Spill it now. Ouch, ouch, ouch. It was Yisi's little brother, Yi11. He said you were on a date with a pretty girl. I let go helplessly. A few boys in the class heard the gossip and started teasing. I gave them a stern look, and they settled down, continuing their morning reading. Just then, a middle-aged woman with some charm appeared at the classroom door. I took a look. It was Bai Wei's biological mother. The moment she appeared, Bai Wei's body stiffened. She instinctively turned to me for help. The homeroom teacher talked to her at the door for a bit, then looked into the classroom. Bai Wei, your mom is here for you. After getting my silent signal, Bai Wei took a deep breath and walked to the door. As soon as she stepped out, her mother put on an apologetic face, exchanged a few words with Teacher He, and Teacher He tactfully retreated into the classroom. I sat in my seat, looking out the window. Bai Wei, standing not far from the door, kept her eyes down, lips tightly shut, letting her mother ramble on. After a while, her mother seemed to coldly drop a few words, and then turned and left. Bai Wei, who had just shown some life because of my promise, when she returned to her seat, her mood visibly plummeted. She looked up at me uneasily. I didn't ask much, just gave her a firm, meaningful smile. Seeing my smile, her tense shoulders relaxed slightly, and her expression gradually calmed. Bai Wei, what did your mom want? Nothing much, just family stuff. Adult matters, kids shouldn't pry. After morning reading, I'll take you to the store and give you a good scolding. Now just focus on your book. I lightly tapped Sujin's gossipy head with a book covering for Bai Wei. But in my mind, I'd already planned my next move. Since the shadow of her original family followed her, I had to gain more legitimate reasons to be by her side. Near the end of morning reading, I walked straight to the podium and whispered a request to Teacher He. At your age, you should focus on your studies. Teacher, how about a bet? In this week's final exam, if I can get into the top 10 of the class, will you let me move my seat next to her? Hearing top 10, Teacher He's calm eyes lit up. He wasn't rigid. If you can turn teenage confusion into motivation, that's a plus in his book. I admire your courage. Alright, if you make the top 10, I'll agree. I smiled and pinky swore with him. Back at my seat, I immediately opened my English book and started an almost crazy review session. My deskmate, the blonde guy, looked at me like I was a monster and exclaimed, when did I get hooked on drugs? I ignored him, because I knew this was a battle I had to win. As soon as morning reading ended, I kept my promise and took Bai Wei and Sujin to the store. Sujin picked out $10 worth of snacks, trying to get back at me for pinching her cheek earlier. Seeing Bai Wei still not in high spirits, I grabbed a lollipop from the shelf and handed it to her. Have something sweet to boost your sugar. It'll lift your mood. Remember what I said this morning. After school, I'll take care of everything. Bai Wei held the lollipop, took a few deep breaths, and finally gave me a bright, unforced smile. Just as we walked out of the store, I saw Jiang Yan lounging on a flower bed, staring intently at a nearby ponytailed girl helping with barbecue, Chu Danwan. He was so absorbed, he didn't even notice us approach. Liangzi, if you keep staring like that, you'll be mistaken for a stalker. Jiang Yan snapped back to reality and stammered when he saw us. Old Gu, sister-in-law, making Bai Wei blush. I told Bai Wei and Sujin to head back to class, then sat down next to Jiang Yan. Since I caught you, let me give you some advice, bro. Chasing a girl is all about sincerity. But I'm not worried about Chu Danwan not accepting you. I'm worried about her very traditional father. He'll definitely look down on your current school bully look. Jiang Yan's face instantly fell. In the past life, it was that stubborn prejudice that led to Jiang Yan's mother dying from anger, and Jiang Yan ending up insane. This life, I can't let the tragedy repeat. I have a way to change his view of you. I know a tip about a fugitive with a 100,000 yuan reward. Go report it to the police. Once they catch him, the credit will be yours. With the police backing and school recognition, if Chu's father still criticizes your look, just say you were undercover with thugs to help solve the case. He'll definitely see you in a new light. Wow, old Gu, that's a solid plan. We'll split the 100,000 yuan reward. You take 50,000. That'll ease the pressure on your mom's medical bills and give you more time to chase the girl. The info is solid. You in? Brothers for life, I've got your back. That says it all. Just as Jiang Yan and I finalized the plan, I saw Chu Danwan mustering courage to walk over. I tactfully stepped back to a corner, secretly watching. The tall, 1.8-meter Jiang Yan, when facing Chu Danwan, was as nervous as a kid caught misbehaving, stammering his words. It turned out Chu Danwan had once called the police to help him out. She thought the legendary school bully was a fierce thug, but instead found a shy, stammering guy. Watching Jiang Yan follow the girl step by step, I, lion old father, finally relaxed. Turning around, I saw Yi Si standing quietly not far away. So about last Friday night. Are you okay? I'm fine. Here, this is yours. I had the jacket dry cleaned. I'll give it back when I get it. I took the neatly washed handkerchief, patted his shoulder, and told him to come to me anytime if he needed anything. I turned and walked back to the classroom. As soon as I entered, I snatched the chocolate Sujin had hidden in her desk. Amid Sujin's protests, I handed the last piece to Bai Wei. Bai Wei gently broke the chocolate in half, giving half to Sujin. The classroom was filled with youthful energy. Back at my seat, I pulled out my phone and received a fax from my mom. A nanny work contract with clear terms. Monthly salary of 6,000, free room and board. No harmful work involved. Looking at this contract, I let out a long sigh of relief. This wasn't just an employment document. It was a legal shield I'd crafted for Bai Wei. Once she signed this contract, proving she was over 18 and had enough income to lie independently, her parents' custody rights could no longer interfere with or abuse her. Since those two families couldn't give her warmth, I'd use legal means to pull her out of that dark pit myself. After confirming the contract was correct, I sent the detailed fugitive info to Jiang Yan. Looking at the bright sunshine outside the window, I knew that the new life for Bai Wei and me was finally about to truly begin. After school, just as we reached the school gate, Bai Wei's body suddenly stiffened. She stepped sideways, instinctively hiding behind me. I followed her gaze and saw her biological father, Bai Changfeng, standing there. Probably because Bai Wei hadn't been home for 2 days. Her mother came to school this morning but couldn't get her, so she went to her father. Let me handle this. I want to talk to her. Just say you don't want to talk. I'll handle it. Don't worry about anything. Bai Wei's pale face in the spring breeze looked like crumpled paper. She took a couple of deep breaths, slowly relaxing her tense body, and followed me forward. We deliberately ignored Bai Changfeng, walking straight out of the school gate, but we hadn't gone far when we heard footsteps chasing us. Bai Wei, wait. Your mom said you haven't been home for 2 or 3 days. What's going on? Bai Changfeng asked Bai Wei, but his eyes subtly sized me up. Bai Wei bit her lip, trembling all over, unable to say a word. Without hesitation, in front of her father, I firmly held her cold hand. This sight stunned Bai Changfeng. Bai Wei also looked at me in surprise. Fear in her eyes, worried her father would harm me. What's going on? You should know very well what's going on. That heavy rain on Friday night. She didn't even have a home to take shelter in. What do you think is going on? Who are you? I'm her classmate. Let go of her hand. Stay away from our Bai Wei. Your family, on that stormy night, would rather let your own daughter get soaked outside than let her stay for 1 night. Where is his home with you? For such a selfish and cold hypocrite, I have no intention of showing any mercy. Bastard, who do you think you are? Who are you to lecture me? What business is it of yours to meddle in our family affairs? Let go of me right now, or I'll find your teacher and parents. Fine. How about I call my parents right now? If you want to hear them scold you too, I wouldn't mind. This is sexual harassment. If you don't let go, I'll call the police. Filing a false police report gets you detained. State agencies aren't your personal bodyguards. I suggest you calm down, uncle. Bai Changfeng couldn't argue back. He reached out to forcibly drag Bai Wei away. My eyes turned cold. I grabbed his wrist in a countermove. The grappling skills I learned in the police force in my past life gave me strength far beyond an average high schooler. Bai Changfeng grunted in pain. I'll only say 3 things to you now. Listen up. First, Bai Wei's custody is with her mother. You have no right to forcibly control or touch her. Take your hand off. Second, when she needed protection most, you watched her get forced into the heavy rain. What right do you have to stand here and pretend today? Third, she's an adult now, and she has the ability to support herself. She doesn't need your charity. If there's nothing else, we're going to have lunch. Goodbye. After saying that, I forcefully shook off his hand. If you bother her again, I'll hang a banner at your company. Let your colleagues and bosses hear how you shut your own daughter out in a heavy rainstorm. I think that would really affect your promotion. I hit the nerve of this selfish man perfectly. Bai Changfeng was completely frozen, left speechless by my retort. On the way home, Bai Wei kept glancing up at me. She found me both familiar and strange. I exuded a maturity completely unlike a high school student. So Bai Wei, I lost control of my emotions just now. I went off on your father without permission. I didn't consider your feelings. I suddenly felt a bit regretful. After all, he's her biological father. Me being so confrontational might put her in a difficult position. I'm very, very happy. She gently squeezed my palm. Her fingertips unconsciously traced on the back of my hand. She lowered her eyes. The way you stood in front of me. The way you spoke up for me without hesitation. Even though you're just a high school student, you dared to confront my father face to face. I'm really happy. She looked up, and I noticed. At some point, she was already in tears. I took out a handkerchief and gently wiped her reddened eyes. Happy, so why cry? She didn't speak. She just flashed me an incredibly bright smile. These tears held a complete release from the past, and even more, joy for a new beginning. Silly girl, crying one moment and laughing the next. But crying isn't so bad. Being able to laugh after crying is what's healthy. Hearing my gentle words, Bai Wei felt a certain ice block in her heart finally melt completely. When we got home, I scooped out 2 full bowls of taro and pork rib rice from the rice cooker. That's too much. I can't finish it. There's a kind of hunger called the owner thinks you're hungry. Eat up. Even if you weigh 200 pounds, I'll always let you stay here. If you really get fat, I'll be your personal trainer to help you lose weight. Don't starve yourself for your figure. Chubby girls are cute. Lai Su-jin. So nigh to pinch. If I get chubby, will I get pinched and bullied by you every day? I wouldn't dare. Besides, you're my employee now. Bullying you would be workplace harassment. If you report me to the labor bureau, I can't afford the compensation. There's no contract. What would I report you with? Who says there isn't one? I put down my chopsticks and walked to the fax machine. I handed a document to her. I've already prepared your contract. Sign it after you finish eating. Bai Wei was a bit surprised seeing the name on the contract. Parents? Did you tell your mom? This had to be done through her to be legal. Did she say anything else? She did. She said if you don't take good care of me, I'll fire you. Especially this clause about daily care. Lie if the blanket is too cold at night, you have to warm it up for me. That's clearly a one-sided clause. That kind of special service costs extra. Seeing her no longer as nervous and shy as before, even learning to joke with me, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. This contract of freedom finally had her completely under my protection. The air at the table was warm. Bai Wei looked at the paper on the table. She thought it was just a joke from me, but found the terms were detailed, surprisingly formal. You're not really going to pay me the salary written here, are you? It's in black and white, signed. Of course it's legally binding. If I don't pay you, and you sue me, I'd have to pay several times the compensation. That won't do. Maybe we shouldn't write this contract. Seeing her flustered look, I slowly drank some milk. I already had a plan in mind. This contract isn't just a game between us. Its real purpose is to deal with any future trouble from your parents. Hearing the word parents, I keenly noticed her shoulders flinch slightly, her eyes full of confusion. My parents? What do they have to do with this? You're just an adult. But without a stable income, you're still under their absolute control. But according to Article 18 of the Civil Code, as long as you have a stable income to support yourself, you're considered to have full civil capacity. I quickly unlocked my phone screen, pulled up the relevant law and handed it to her. Simply put, as long as this job exists, you have the right to refuse all forced interference from your parents. If they pressure you, you can use the law to protect yourself. Is this really true? Outsiders can't imagine the kind of invisible, deadly family cold violence that pushed her to such extremes. Now, looking at the law, I finally saw the gloom in her eyes completely lift. A newfound vitality emerged. Now you see the benefit, right? After eating, just sign the contract. But 6,000 a month is really too much. My mom only makes 3,000 a month. I can't even do a good job as a housekeeper. How about cutting it in half? Silly girl, you eat my food, lie in my place. I'll end up taking that money back from you anyway. This number is just for show to outsiders. In the end, it's all mine. Then I'm relieved. Seeing her instantly relax, she wolfed down the pork rib rice in her bowl, as if even the rice grains became incredibly sweet. I couldn't help teasing her again. Not a single cent less. I'm just teasing you. If you think it's too much, from now on, all household expenses will come from your salary. Let me really experience what it's like to be kept. Oh, cool. I have Bai Wei promised to use my salary to keep Gu Nanchang for a lifetime of food and lodging, recorded on 6CO as proof. After the meal, she happily signed the contract, even humming a cheerful tune. She forced me out of the kitchen, put on gloves herself, and happily washed the dishes. The living room fell quiet. I suddenly remembered the calming herbs I brought back from my grandparents last night. They said putting it under the pillow helps you sleep better. I was so busy yesterday, I forgot. I walked into the guest room bed. It was tidied up immaculately by her. A faint fragrance hung in the air. I walked straight to the window, casually lifted the pillow, but my gaze instantly froze. A cold fruit knife lay quietly under the pillow. My pupils suddenly contracted. This knife matched almost perfectly with the murder weapon the forensic examiner deduced in my past life. This is definitely not my knife. From the moment she came here, drenched in the storm, this knife had been tightly on her. Countless images from my past life exploded in my mind. The possibility of suicide was completely ruled out, because the wound angle was completely wrong. But if the murder weapon was something she brought herself, then those people I ruled out as suspects, because they had no weapon on them. The bully DCI, the thugs, the passing homeless man, the delivery guy, or even anyone who brushed past her. Since the weapon was on her, then anyone who passed through that area that night could have taken the knife and committed the crime. All my previous reasoning was completely overturned in that moment. This knife, I didn't bring it after washing the dishes. She was standing at the door, I don't know when, seeing me holding the pillow, stunned, and then seeing the exposed fruit knife on the bed. Extreme panic surged in her eyes, afraid I'd misunderstand. It's okay. You don't need to explain. A girl alone outside, having this kind of safety awareness is a good thing. I held her tightly in my arms, feeling her stiffness and helplessness, and in my deep eyes, I was frantically sorting through the complex case information from my past life. In this life, I swear I won't let the tragedy repeat.